Hey guys, lepedaler here, back with another video. Today I will be discussing rim brakes versus disc brakes and the future of road bikes. So without further ado, let's get into it. So guys, the big debate between rim brakes and disc brakes is whether or not it's worth the extra cost and the weight that you're going to get added to your bike. And you know, being a roadie, a true roadie, I am somewhat of a weight weenie, but what I care more about is modulation of braking performance, because at the end of the day, I'm not in a stage race where every second counts up a climb. It's more those long training rides that actually matter. So I'd rather have a more enjoyable, comfortable ride than save a couple grams here or there. So we're gonna get into some examples I'm gonna bring up, because I feel like a lot of other people that are comparing the two, they just give their personal opinions, or they give really bad reasons, saying that, oh, because this pro cyclist or the majority of pro cyclists in this race won on rims and the other people are on disc, that's why they lost. And I'm just like, dude, no, there's so many more factors that go into whether someone wins or not. And at the pro UCI level, as long as a lot of the bikes are hitting 6.8 kilograms, which at that point is the minimum, or actually the maximum requirement for the road bike weight. So there's, at the pro level, even disc brake bikes are easily meeting that weight. So the next elephant in the room is weight. I know true roadies, all of them are weight weenies, so I knew this was going to come up, and I would have to say that yes, there is a difference, 700 grams roughly, give or take, between disc brake models and rim brake models. Personally, I don't think that's very important, because unless you're in the Tour de France or a stage race or at the pro level where like you're a climber and every gram counts, I don't think, even I've seen people that race pro continental, and they race with 8 kilogram bikes. So you know, let's say an average rim brake bike comes in at, let's say, 6.9, 7.1 kilograms, and an average disc brake is anywhere between 7.7 and to the heavy, let's say 8. I don't think 600, 700 grams is that important whether or not you're going to be faster. Yeah, you might be at the same power, that's just by numbers. Yeah, you would be faster on the rim brake, but if you're training and you're not really doing stage races where you're losing by a second on a climb, on a hilltop finish, I don't think it's that important, because like I said, the added benefit is because of the extra weight, you get the better braking performance in any weather condition, and you don't have to worry, it's always consistent. Modulation is always consistent with disc, rather in rim, where it can fluctuate a little bit here and there depending on a bunch of factors. So yeah, weight, I'm gonna have to give it to rim. However, like I said, I think disc makes up for it with the modulation aspect. So the next important factor in deciding to go rim or disc is gonna be looking at price. So say you have one bike, two different versions, one's disc, one's rim, and you're debating which one. Usually the rim brake is gonna be a little bit cheaper compared to the disc. It's roughly $200, $300 more for the disc brake version. So people are like, why would I spend more money on a bike that weighs more? And my rebuttal to that would be, like I said previously, which would be purely the modulation aspect of having better braking performance, right? The coolest thing is being able to go into corners a little bit longer and not having to brake as suddenly as you would have to in rim brake versions. And the other aspect is you can keep a wheel a little bit longer, because you can just replace the rotor rather than having to replace the rim surface, the rim braking surface. But yeah, there is a price difference. Rim is cheaper compared to disc, so that might sway people away, but I think for $300 extra, having the nice ease, like I said, for the modulation performance, I personally would choose disc. But that brings me up to the third point, is price. Rim wins again. So that was like my three main categories, and yes, rim did beat disc in terms of which one was, I wouldn't say better, because just because you have a heavier bike doesn't mean it would perform better, right? So that kind of concludes that aspect of the video, but I'm just giving my personal opinions. If you guys are interested, please listen. I would say in terms of how the industry is moving compared to other disciplines such as cyclocross and mountain biking, there's a reason why they went away from rim, right? Just there's better braking performance in disc, right? And I feel like over time they're going to be able to, with the technology that improves, they're going to be able to get the the weight down. So I think for the like the negligible gram that it adds, like unless you're chasing KOMs every single day, or you're racing hilltop weekly series where every weight, every gram matters, then 100% I would say go for rim brakes, right? However, if you live like in a climate that experiences rain, you want good braking performance, like superior braking performance, and just the ease of knowing that you can modulate a little bit better. For 600, 700 grams and that extra $200, $300, I think it is justified in terms of the performance. And I would say the best thing to do would be able, if you know someone, ask them if you can give it like a 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer little loop and see how you like it and try braking with it. Because I feel like once you've experienced, and I say the closest thing to that would be like trying a cyclocross bike. And I have both. So I have a rim brake road bike and I had a cyclocross disc brake bike, and I've tried both. And I like the disc brake bike in terms of modulation. That's one thing I really liked about it. It just felt smoother, like more responsive. Rim, it's like you learn how to corner, you learn how to brake, where you, like every bike's different kind of. It's weird because wheels are different. I don't know. It's just disc. When I rode my cyclocross bike, disc, just the modulation aspect was like it was easier to grasp, if that makes sense. So moving forward, though, I think the industry, and especially you can see at the pro scene, because I've been following this since like 2016, and that's when I think they had this one crash in one of the races in the Dubai tour, was where the one guy was using a disc brake bike and it supposedly cut the guy's shoe. And that's when UCI was debating whether or not they were going to introduce into the pro peloton. But like now, because it is in here, and a lot of teams like Bora Hansgrohe, Trek Segafredo, everyone's running them and everyone has them stocked on their pro teams, it just doesn't make sense why the cycling industry, in terms of the brands, would be pushing it for the average consumer like me and you. So I think it is here to stay. We're going to see a lot more versions coming in the future. However, I'd be curious to see if they keep selling rim brake bikes. I don't know if this is like a fad. I don't think so, because like I said, better braking performance, right? Like that was the scariest braking experience I've ever had. It was when the brakes literally did not engage when I was going downhill in the rain. So I hope they are able to somewhat, like if they get rid of the rim brakes, like you won't have a choice in terms of choosing between rim and disc, saving $300. So you kind of forced to go with disc. And I think it speaks volumes to have it on a road, like because disc is unmelted and cyclocross, it was just like it was just until like it was just waiting till the time comes where it actually gets onto road bikes. And I think a lot of people are kind of stuck in their ways. I'm kind of like that too. It's like the whole mechanical versus electronic. I'm still on mechanical, but I haven't experienced electronic enough to say, like this is the new wave. But in terms of just maintenance, for example, in that aspect, that brings me up to my point, maintenance. Okay, rim brakes are easier in terms of, I wouldn't say, okay, see that's the whole thing, people always get confused. When I say easier, it's all retrospect to what's available, right? Like at mountain biking, you don't have the rim brake option anymore, right? Originally there was, but in terms of disc brakes, like you have to bleed your brakes, you have to learn how to do that if you're gonna do your own maintenance. And then if you're not, just bring it to your local shop. And then at that point, it's the same thing, because you're bringing it to your local shop to get tuned up, right? But if you're gonna do it yourself, I would say either one requires the same amount of skill to be able to bleed your brake compared to pulling your brake cable for your rim brakes. It requires the same amount of effort, right? I think it goes back to the whole, like, people are comfortable doing what they're doing now, because rim brake compared to disc, like either one is going to have their drawbacks and setbacks. I think the only difference I see is if there's something happening on the road, God forbid, like in terms of disc, like your brakes are like rubbing or something, yeah, it would be a lot harder to fix, where in rim you're allowed to pivot the brake. But then again, if there's something where it's you need an Allen key, you don't have one on you, it's like the same situation. I think in terms of maintenance, unless you know how to fix brakes, regardless if it's rim or disc, you're still gonna have to bring your bike into a shop to get fixed, to get serviced. So it doesn't matter if you're on a ride. Maybe rim might be a little bit easier because you can pivot the brake and recenter it on the to your wheel. However, if you don't know what you're doing, you're still gonna have to stop your ride if you don't feel comfortable with how it's performing your brakes. You'll and have to take it to a shop. So at that point, it's disc versus rim for maintenance. It's kind of the same because you're bringing it to your shop. However, if you do your own maintenance, either one, if you're checking your how your bike's performing after every ride, you'll be able to adjust it yourself, right? It's just learning those new skills if you're transitioning from rim to disc brake. But like I said, cyclocross and mountain bikes, the same concept. Like they don't have another option. So everyone that does their own maintenance on those bikes and those disciplines, they learn how to brake bleed, right? Or they take it to their shop. So it's kind of just the same aspect. It's just because we have choice right now that there's this whole debate, right? But I do truthfully believe that next 2-3 years, like rim brake will be pretty much absolutely gone. It will not be the new standard. Disc will be the new standard. So if you guys did enjoy my little argumentative piece, please drop a subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I'd love to give some more contact. I got a lot of more Zwift content to update once the weather gets better. A lot of more vlogs, race day videos, ride videos, group ride videos coming. On anything cycling related that you guys want me to post, drop a comment down below. Oh, don't forget to like if you did like the video. If you are someone that likes rim brakes, I guess you're gonna drop a dislike on this video. But until then, lepedaler is out. Peace, guys.